Good afternoon, B3L. It's RoatsDB coming with a live trading session. For those that you can't make it, we do record these sessions, make them available afterwards via YouTube link. Otherwise, these sessions we're going to try and get back to our regular weekly routine here. Keep them going. They're really they're labeled as an NFT trading session. They're really kind of a way to talk, interact, discuss the NFT market. If there is something that's kind of going on a current pump, or if there is some kind of collections that want to be discussed, this is a really good open forum to do that discussion and go through things. So do attend when you can. If the timing doesn't work, we will look at other times. I have Mondays and Fridays available to me for these sessions, so whatever makes sense, we can try and arrange with that. But just wanted to go here today. I usually start these sessions off with just a bit of a market overview. Really, the market is one thing right now, and that's the ETF approval looking imminent, and crypto really flying right now, hitting some really key kind of levels at the moment, potentially breaking through those levels. So it's excellent to see. I think we're gonna see some of that chaos and volatility probably all the way through to Thursday, Friday, when that ETF trading could happen. You get opinions on both sides of it, and I mean, I'm not the crypto expert here. We do have, maybe one in the room here with us, but generally speaking, I think well, from what I'm hearing, is that we should probably continue to see some upward movement on this, but be aware of volatility. It's definitely risky in terms of what can happen, but when that ETF goes live, we really could see a big move. I'm going to pause here for a second. I hear my son wandering over for a hello, and going to just do a quick mute. False alarm. So yeah, really exciting to see that this momentum, etc. Volatility, and what we really kind of see with NFTs when it relates to the crypto market is they're kind of leverage bets. So when there's optimism, there's kind of, as that crypto moves, there's a bit of an additional leverage bet on NFTs to kind of multiply that move. So if you think of it, if ETH is going up and NFT prices are going up, you get that kind of dual effect. When market's not as strong, or when it's tempered, sometimes you can get the opposite effect, even with an ETH movement, as people try to capture some profits or increase value in the NFTs. So always watch for that. When there is extreme volatility, sometimes you'll see a really nice buying environment where ETH moves up, NFT prices kind of adjust to reflect the fact that USD values can be achieved at a higher rate with a lower ETH price, and therefore prices come down. If that volatility swings back down, sometimes you can get a really unique buying opportunity. We haven't seen that over this last few months, as I think the optimism and the kind of move into a bit of the bull market has kind of started up. So maybe that opportunity doesn't exist as well. Um, the overall market itself seeing a nice consistency increase in volume, which is excellent to have. We have really kind of established new levels that we haven't been at for really back until where Blur was really strong. Now a lot of this volume does tend to be Blur farming, and there has been some farming games going on with certain collections out there, where a lot of buys, and then some bid dumps, and kind of those old games that were going on. So just be aware that this kind of increased liquidity as well kind of keeps some stability in collections that are heavily farmed, but doesn't provide necessarily quite the opportunity as it's kind of, it's a more efficient market, right? My interesting metric that I like to look at a lot, I've expanded it into collections where I think, we'll spend some time looking at that later on. But really, the buyer to seller ratio, if we were to scale this way back, kind of tipped around May 2022, and that was kind of, yeah, and even before then, but that May 2022 was about the end of any positive buyer to seller ratio, and it's been below one ever since. and that's really a mark of the bear market. It's had some spikes here recently, which is excellent to see. We periodically get 1 day spikes, but a couple more recently. So some optimism there. Not seeing necessarily a lot of increased buyers to sellers. It really, I think it's a cycle of a lot of the existing people in the ecosystem. It's going to take time, but maybe something like the attention on crypto and the ETFs moving forward and all that kind of stuff can result in increased adoption into NFTs. It will take some time, but it's still positive nonetheless. Blur is really running the market share side of things right now, and like I said, that's all relationship to farming activity. What else? Normally I have these on a slide, so I don't have to scroll through all these, but um, there are some other interesting metrics that are in there. And if there's a metric that isn't in this, and you are using this doc, or if you think of something that might be interesting, don't hesitate to drop me a message. Ping me on Twitter or reach out on Discord, and I'm open to ideas there. And we can work on developing it and get it into something that's consumable or at least presentable. This is one of the more interesting ones, and this is kind of like a measure of the last trade for an NFT wallet, and you can kind of see some ebbs and flows, or kind of more of a steeper decline there through the 2023 range there, early part, and it kind of has leveled off, which is kind of more positive to see. But you'd be surprised about how many active wallets have been in there. Over the last year, there's been a million active wallets, so there's still a lot of NFT adoption, and this is ETH only. Keep in mind, and so with Solana, you'd see a much larger jump there. On the collection side of things, the blue chip index has been nice and stable. This has always been a chart, this and the mid cap chart over the last year that's been mostly negative, right? So in the 40% loss range over a 5 month period is kind of very consistent for a long period of time. We've seen that swing on the positive, even more so on the USD dollar terms. And of course, this doesn't reflect today's activity. You're going to see that jump even more. So excellent to see, and showing that signs of life. A lot of it is jumping into more established collections. There has been some large wins on some of the more niche collections, on the smaller cap collections, but when we look at the big ones here, it's usually a narrative driven, or kind of that reaccumulation where there's confidence in some of the larger collections. Azuki been notably the biggest winner lately. Did mention on the Thursday Spaces that actually not the Thursday Spaces. I didn't get to speak there. My microphone wasn't working. So on the Friday video that I put out, did mention that Azuki coming up into their anniversary was a potential move, and then also checks kind of with the belief, or with the impending ordinal drop there by Jack Butcher. So they performed well. They've also given back some of those profits here recently on both. Um, yeah, mid cap also performing quite well over the same period of range. Taking a pause, opening to some questions before we start to look at collections in more detail. If nothing, that's fine. I can continue to chat on. So I have added a couple new elements to this doc. I did mention this earlier, but if you don't have access to this Google Doc, feel free to open up a ticket. All members have access to it. You just need a Google account, and it is some interesting market metrics that I produce, and is quite useful for myself, but hopefully for members as well. One of the new elements that I have added is this buyer to seller ratio for collections. I think it's interesting one. I have it on a weekly kind of time horizon at the moment. I may change it to daily, or reevaluate the way I have it. But what this is looking at is your net unique buying wallets versus selling wallets over the last week, and any collection that is running significantly more positive typically that's a really good sign of you know, individuals entering the collection versus farmer activity versus sell-off activity or versus um, kind of non-strength in the collection, right? So the collections that are strong on this chart are typically ones that are performing better. What you want to try and do on this is maybe spot something that hasn't really fully kind of moved yet. So that's a new one that I have built in there. And then another one I've added here recently is this activity tab. This is using NFT price floor as a data source. So it's a website that is pretty effective for looking at really more so than anything art collections. But they have 1,000 collections in here that are kind of indexed and updated. But this gives you ability to see some market metrics across all of those collections in pretty good detail, volume, et cetera, et cetera. So being able to have those metrics in there, I think was something that was useful. Already had a version of this, but I just like the way that they had presented all the data, and then also being able to see these market changes, which are a little harder to do on my end. So awesome. So like I said, usually these sessions when things are really moving, when I'm looking at anything on a momentum basis, we're looking at high sales volume, and I like to look at the 50-minute. That was what I was quite used to. But when looking at the 15-minute, typically what you're wanting to see is 100 plus sales in that 15-minute range. We're nowhere near that at the moment. If we were to look into uh, Inca Blinks, which was kind of the Saturday run quite early, and uh, B3L and some of the founders, they were in on it pretty quick and early. It has kind of gone through quite a swing of momentum. But if we look back on it, you can really kind of see. And the nice thing about when you have a collection that's really moving is that you can play kind of some of that TA and momentum type activity that someone like IO Focus is really gonna um, train and teach in some of his sessions, and kind of the stuff that I look for in the same instance, is that you're going to see this kind of up down momentum, and looking at it over what periods of time you can kind of tell or determine when there's opportunity to to make a move on this. So it's worked out really well. I was in on this collection and bought. I think I got into the 0.43 range, so right about here, it immediately, within about 15 minutes, was up to just about zero point 0.8, and I thought, oh, this is outstanding. And of course, being that these type of swings haven't happened super often, I got this moment of, okay, NFT's all up, and this is going to point one, it's going to break it, etc. Although I had a couple hesitations, a couple of red flags that I saw immediately, I kind of ignored it just on based on the fact that this ran so fast and hard. The art in the collection, it's cool. It's unique. It stands out, and that's always something I look for when I'm, uh, looking at new collections and looking at collections themselves. Is there something that stands out on the collection? Is there a narrative or something you can check off that is a marker of past success and look for? So this type of art, not super common. It does exist in Rec Guy and a few other collections out there, but pretty interesting, pretty cool, especially for something that is at a low price value. So that stood out to me. Immediately from there, it's worthwhile going in and checking out the Twitter. This Twitter is kind of your first red flag. Just having no followers doesn't mean it's a nothing, but typically any situation where there's no followers, not much going on, that's especially if you look at it and say, okay, how many followers that you have in common, and this is since growing since Saturday, but there was very limited, so that stands out a little bit. And the other part that kind of caught me off guard on here is just the name itself. I don't think the name is super catchy, and something as small as that can be enough, right? Then from there it's a matter of going through the X feed and seeing what the general timeline horizon narrative is on it. If you're seeing a lot of activity on it, then there's probably an immediate move on it. And then we go back into the chart. So I managed to sell one at about uh, zero point 0.7, 0.77, I think. And then I sold another one at 0.6 and a half, and then kind of was out from there. Just on this run alone, these things can be quite fleeting, and it was also late in the evening, and I don't like to hold these things if it's a short-term play overnight, right? So was out from there. It did make a recovery throughout the evening and in the morning, and then it's kind of since tailed off. I would imagine this collection will continue to do so, although things like that can change depending on who's driving it, or what the um, Twitter's or the X in the creator is saying about it. But usually they're quite fleeting from there. So any thoughts, comments, questions about collections, etc. That we can bring up? And then ultimately, with these sessions, we've had quite a few success moments. I'm hoping that as the market continues to pick up, uh, more often than not, you're seeing several of these collections and the volume consistent, and they can really drive an opportunity to look at those immediate trades. If not, then we're talking about collections themselves, uh, different potential things that are interesting, having a really good active discussion on them. What I want to do here as well is highlight some of the sources to kind of evaluate the market on a kind of a larger basis. So um, I'm not sure where everyone stands in terms of whether or not they're involved in Solana, uh, or whether or not they're involved in ordinals. Um, you know, but want to go through there, and one of the things I think is really important at the moment is understanding kind of the various markets and how well they're performing in terms of volumes, etc., to get a kind of a better gauge of where things are at. As it seems to be a bit of a move from ETH into Solana, and a bit of a Solana run, and then all of a sudden there's a ordinal run, and kind of back to ETH again. So I think through this next cycle, it's going to continue to be the case. Now, ordinals were kind of um, I don't know if they were faded initially, or just thought that maybe a bit of a passing element just because of the clunkiness of Bitcoin. That clunkiness is kind of turned into a bit of a feature depending on the collection and what's being traded. Think of it as more like high end art is really ideal, I think, maybe for ordinals. Although with art, there's a challenge of the way it's inscribed to the Bitcoin, and what's actually plausible in that respect. But either way, something that could continue to grow and move. And we're expecting the Jack Butcher release to happen, and that's going to be I think another really strong catalyst for the ordinal movement. But either way, and then Solana's biggest feature is the gas element. Um, but there seems to be still a pretty strong separation between Ethereum NFT holders and Solana, and there's not necessarily a significant crossover between the two. There may be a continued development on that, but always kind of pay attention. One thing that's helped with Solana here more recently is there seems to be less um, scams or full on kind of like pump and dump moves, et cetera, which kind of was a bit of the scenario in the last bull market. So, if it's established a little bit more and producing a little bit more quality, then I think it's a chain for NFT trading that makes a lot of sense. So, dgens.finance is a pretty good website, kind of produced by uh, um, a couple of the OGs in the space. And it's just totally escaping me right now, and I don't even know why because I listen to him daily. But from Rug Radio, Nando and um, OSF, there it is. Um, both a really good pulse on crypto market, etc. So I try to listen to them often, get their perspective, and of course my Canadian boy there as well, on the space. So it's a lot of fun there. But it does allow you to go through and look at a kind of a really long time horizon on the plot chart, which I quite like. I know someone like IO would much prefer a standard candlestick chart, but I'm used to these kind of plotted out charts, etc. So you can get a larger range of data, which is nice. Not all sites offer that. One feature with Beast is that you do get access to Magically. I think Magically is a an excellent place for. I use it actually both for making NFT trades, as it's quite fast and shows rarity, etc. It's quite powerful that way, but it's an excellent way to see what the current activity on the market is. Not totally indifferent to what you would see on OpenSea Pro or Blur, etc. This is just a nice source and aggregation and showing that uh, trending volume activity. So Magically is something that you can go to, connect your wallet, and access and see what's going on with it, as a beast feature there. So something else also worthwhile to check out. And then a couple other tools that I like to use. Article is another really good one. Article is excellent for art, and will show you a really awesome platform for browsing and taking a look at art collections themselves. So you haven't explored there before, it's probably worthwhile to both explore and get an understanding of what collections are performing well, what that general art looks like, etc. If it's something that you're looking to get into or be in, and understanding the artists that kind of are consistent in there. So it's a really cool platform to check out. So another pause. Uh, Want to see if there's any questions, if there's any collections that anyone wants to look into or has thoughts on. Take that moment. Like I said, at the moment, a lot of the attention is kind of that bated breath around what's going to transpire over this week here with the Bitcoin ETF, and that activity, and the crypto run that's going to present itself, etc. So I think NFTs themselves may be a bit quieter, and then post what goes on there, whether an ETF happens or just the general excitement around crypto will kind of push the NFT market forward, probably in the following week or two here. So awesome. And they are free at the moment. Is that correct? Of Rec Guy? Is it Rec Guy that you're required to have it, or there's a couple NFT collections you can have? Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I didn't see really anything that's kind of locked down because I did look into that. I thought, okay, well maybe there's an NFT I need to pick up for it. Um, but overall, it's a pretty nice platform. Yep, I can see them. I don't know if I can load one up or not, or if it's restricted. I'm not overly concerned about checking out the reports. Um, yeah, yeah, it looks like it's full access. So, oh, this is locked. So the reports are locked. Uh, Degen's code holders. So I know you can buy a code, which is the okay. That's not actually not too bad as well. Zero point 0.05. So I may look at picking one of those up. The thing about NFT platforms in general is that I mean, there's so many good ones that are um, pretty much free, right? And Blur and OpenSea Pro are also pretty effective, although to have their limitations. Um, so it's always hard to jump in on getting something for another one. I know NFT Go is kind of locked down, and that was my favorite prior to them getting locked down. Um, it's now semi-restricted, although I did find out that the free version of their API access is pretty comprehensive. So I have been playing around in that and being able to uh, capture activity from there. And Ethereum Puppet's got 81 sales here over the, I guess it's an hour time horizon, but yeah. So NFT Go, excellent tool for looking at the market on a holistic basis. But yeah, you can see here that a lot of their charting, et cetera, is locked down, um, which is unfortunate because some of these trends like holder trends over time is quite interesting. Um, and go here, Pro Trade. Actually, the Pro Trade I think is open, and they have um, their integration in here too. So not too bad. So there's all kinds of platforms to check out, um, and and they're worthwhile being in touch with that. So if anyone ever has questions, etc., I've used quite a bit. I'm sure IO's used quite a bit, and we're more than welcome to share or even demo one that we think is valuable. Like I said, Magically is always the one I kind of go to for these sessions. I just like um, their layout and the way to kind of see trending activity. And then once you get into this kind of dashboard view, it's super compact and really helpful to look at. I did have a bit of challenges kind of using it for mobile trading on the weekend. I didn't have my laptop with me, and I wanted to get into Inca Blinks, and it was challenging, but after some effort, I was able to use it no problem on mobile as well. So that was kind of cool. So I've seen that one in the past. I haven't gone to it, I think, in a bit, um, but it's probably in the my bookmarks. Um, yeah, so I like the way that looks as well, actually. And then if we were to look at a collection, it shows some of the mutual holders, blue chip holders, etc., which is cool. And rankings. Okay. Is this supposed to show the individual transactions on it? Okay. That's a lot like the Magically kind of view, which is cool. Interesting. Let me, like I said, I think I got it bookmarked into um, my analytics, but I was trying to clean through and reselect kind of my go-tos as you kind of accumulate so many over time, and then you want to go in and make sure I'm kind of going to what makes the most sense. So got a couple screens here. Sometimes I lose my mouse on my computer. A couple metrics that I'm in the process of working on. I have this one called Sharp Wallets. So Sharp Wallets I use for the purpose of taking traders that are profitable over the last X period of time. I don't know. I think my time horizon on it right now is 6 months. And so the most profitable traders over the last 6 months, this kind of tracks what they're buying and selling. Kind of an interesting one. Blue chip holders activity, that's kind of self explanatory. Most people are familiar with that. Kind of a really popular metric from really this time last year um, that took off, and it's kind of a really interesting one for understanding where influential buyers are. One that I am adding in is whale activity through the use of the NFT Go kind of whale list. So incorporating that in here as well to look at what whales are accumulating, what the whale counts are for certain collections, etc. I think there's some value in that, but just trying to kind of pull out some kind of more individual, unique metrics towards collections. Otherwise, it's a matter of really consuming information, understanding what's kind of coming up with various collections, and kind of driving out what makes sense. I'm also, if I'm looking at a buy hold, I'm always looking at a collection and understanding what that collection's value is to me for all of my holds. And if it doesn't provide any personal value, then it's not typically going to be something that I get attached to. And that's just the way I like to look at things, right? So just kind of keep that in your perspective of what's your value? What are you accumulating for? Is it a broad-based portfolio of NFTs and part of kind of your general process, or is there some additional utility that you're looking for in a collection, et cetera, and take it with that. So B3L, I think what's made us so strong here over the last couple months, which has been kind of quite the run compared to the slow build that we have been on for the last 2 years. IO really from the start, myself from the start, and all of us kind of just working away, providing information and knowledge to our members, building away, etc. But then kind of really getting that momentum that we've had over the last bit, and it's never been a collection where we've really um, pushed uh, and really kind of just grown really organically, really up until mint out here. So it's excellent to see the progress that we've made, and I think over the next 6 months, year, et cetera, it's going to continue to grow and foster this community and have us work together. And some of the unique utilities that are provided by B3L is kind of indifferent to any other collection. So it's to me, whether or not I'm here doing what I do for the community, it's a NFT that I think is different from uh, most all collections that are out there in terms of what it does. So that's really cool. So I know we didn't do any NFT trading here today, um, and like I said, there's a bit of quietness in the markets in terms of momentum activity. There's a bit of quietness in the terms of uh, what's going on with the the crypto narrative and momentum that's going on with the ETS that I think will make NFTs a bit quieter. I may be completely off base on there. I don't know if IO you have a different perspective, but that's kind of my general thought is that most attention is going to be on Bitcoin and the crypto market as a whole, and NFTs will probably trail that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think you hit it right, perfect. There's that a lot of what's happened here over uh, mid-November through to now is kind of that, like I said, when you look at the indexes, et cetera, looking at collection prices over time, it was a constant down pressure, and that's natural. Any collection on a daily basis is more likely to go down than it is to go up, but that's always a description of, the the few that want to get out versus the general consensus of the collection, right? Because all it takes is one person to list down, and there goes your floor a bit, right? But we got to that final point here in the kind of this last quarter of 2023, where I think the general feeling was we've kind of bottomed out. We've been at this bottom for several months, and that it was time for people to start accumulating again. And that's where we've seen this really good momentum in NFTs. I think most of that has occurred, and now you see this kind of spot cycles for particular projects, and that's kind of where it's at. Where NFTs will really start to take off is um, as you go through the crypto run, DeFi run, and then kind of the last cycle of that is NFTs, or at least that's how it played out last cycle. Um, yeah. Well, we've had me as a kind of a sprinkling of meme coins for the last 6 months already, but um, uh, yeah. So I think in ETH and NFTs quality, et cetera, like that. There's still enough going on here that you can't just go on with your eyes closed and say, okay, nothing's going to happen yet until the market's full cycle. But I think when things really start to move is when we get through those immediate cycles, and then the attention really starts to shine on NFTs as kind of the last lever to amp up the profits there. So it's a really good question. I still try to determine how ordinals plays into that high end market. Um, I do believe, and I talked about it earlier, that Solana and ordinals, Bitcoin, and ETH NFTs are all gonna uh, coexist here for the next foreseeable future. Um, where it goes is, and all it takes is a few moves. So, for instance, the Jack Butcher drop. Um, I don't know if that's a catalyst to high end art or anything like that existing. Um, right? Yeah, that's exactly it. You couldn't get the same degree of quality there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Y- Yeah, and unless there's like a kind of like a layer two solution to Bitcoin, it's not going to change. And even so, like the quality of NFTs that exist already on Ethereum or are going to continue to reside on Ethereum, all for maybe DeGods and Utes, but um, who knows where they're going next. But I think they're going to continue to reside on Ethereum, and as such, the degree of sales that we've had, the art projects that have been there and kind of established prominence in the space. You're right. I think all of that kind of exists there, but you're going to still have interesting pockets of collectibles and some high end elements that will occur on ordinals, but it is limited as a chain overall. So. But I think it's important to be aware of all three because opportunity is going to reside across all three chains, and it will likely cycle through them. And because this space is very much narrative driven, you'll see, for instance, the copycat of 3, 4, 5 collections that have come out since on Ethereum for node monks. Anytime there's kind of something that's a point of success or a narrative that's going on in the space, um, it tends to be chased by both copycat collections and everyone else trying to kind of run that narrative. So, um, yeah, no, and I appreciate the interjection. Um, it's been a while since I've been able to do one of these sessions, so they're always of increased value when I can kind of um, kind of go back and forth with anyone that's willing to do so. So, and if not, like I said, I'm good to just chat too. So, gonna take a moment here as well. Any other further questions, thoughts? Um, you know, even if you after this session want to drop me a message if this wasn't what you expected, what were you expecting? Again, we didn't get any live trading going on. Overall, pretty quiet in the terms of um, general quick activity. But um, we like to do that when it's really cooking. But if it's not really cooking, then you know what what would you value from a session like this on a weekly cadence? And if this is exactly it, then perfect. We'll see you again next Monday, and we'll go through the same. If you're not joining the spaces on Thursday, those are phenomenal. Borchilla and his kind of discussion, I think, is one of the best in terms of really understanding the macro environment and kind of that integration and how that plays into the Web3 environment. So it's always an excellent discussion and really refocuses kind of mindsets and where we're at because we can live in this NFT bubble and not necessarily grasp what's going on in the larger market. So, and then I also do a rundown from there as well. And usually the talking points on those weekly sessions are there's some interesting tidbits every time. All right. Well, with no questions, I am going to call it here at an hour. Sometimes I'll go longer than an hour, but like I said early on, for the few that were here, is that things have been chaotic in the regular 9 to 5, so I got to get back to it and go from there. But it's been fun. We'll do it again here. Really excited to have everyone that's new to one of these sessions, and like to continue the conversation going on with you guys. I see JD is typing. It may be a thank you, it may be a question, so I'll hang on here for a second. Perfect. Yeah, you're welcome, JD. And yeah, if anyone has any questions regarding the Google Docs, feel free to drop me a line. If you want to get access, open up a ticket, and King C or someone will get to you and let me know to get your email added. It does require a Gmail account. That Gmail account doesn't have to be a Gmail email. I actually recently discovered, but you'll get access to the Google Docs. And then if anyone's using the Google Docs and has any issue with them, do let me know as well. My experience may be different from everyone else as far as I understand that it works the same way as it does for me. But if there's any loading issue or any data issue, do let me know so I can work on a solution. But and I'll continue to build on that doc metrics and et cetera that I think are of value for myself and then for others as well. Is because I mean there's so much information in this space, and that's one of the challenges is being able to kind of condense what's useful and what's valuable. So that's kind of what I'm hopefully can do for you that way. these Incas are almost getting enough volume to be of interest in the moment. I know when the market's really moving, you'll see this 15-minute, and something will start to move, and it's just kind of like this kind of steady follow through with additional trading and activity that kind of really takes off. So it's sometimes they're really fun to see. But like I said, over 100 sales in the 15-minute window is ideal. Um, but yeah, curious. Like I said, I don't foresee this collection being strong long term, just given some of the shortcomings identified. But they're also kind of really cool. So all it takes is them to be repped a bit, and they could catch on. So um, yeah. All right, I'm out. We'll catch you again next week or Thursday.